Hello, and welcome to our latest One Piece manga chapter review. This will be chapter 1111. It's titled The Shield of the Sun, I believe. So we've got a nice cover page for Shonen Jumps, very cool. It's got Luffy, Sanji, and Zoro dressed in like formal pirate attire. Luffy and Sanji are carrying flintlock pistols. Zoro is carrying one of his katana. Notes from Oda: I bet you're as carefree as ever, building models with a halo above you, saying the life of a mangaka is tough. I salute you, Oda. You've got a very cool color spread here. It's got all of the Straw Hats. They're riding on jellyfish. It's got the Straw Hats, Bonnie and Vegapunk. Let's see if Kuma's there. No, yes, Kuma's there too. So it's Egghead. And they are all eating French fries. Let's see. Luffy's eating a big bucket of French fries. A shirt with a potato on it. Potato with a mustache and a top hat. Emo Don. That doesn't look like it's a logo to any particular brand or character, so it must be something made up. Frankie is with Vegapunk. They're eating fries. Vegapunk is in a submarine. Looks like a... Is that something Frankie built? Kinda looks like something Frankie built. It has a star on it. And a little robotic arm to carry the French fries, even though the French fries are on the outside of the sub and Vegapunk is on the inside. That's very silly. Frankie is wearing a shirt, flying through the deep sea. Zoro and Jinbei sharing fries. Bonnie in her true physical age, grabbing a bunch of French fries from a bucket with Nami and Chopper there. Chopper's shirt says Explore. And down further, under the jellyfish that Nami, Bonnie, and Chopper is sitting on, we've got Usopp hanging off one of the tentacles, and then Zoro down on another, sitting down on another jellyfish that's down below. Got Kuma sitting on one. Wearing an orange shirt. Kinda tracksuit jacket looking. Got Sanji sitting next to Nami. It looks like Sanji's actually frying the French fries. So Sanji's making the French fries. Or excuse me, Sanji sitting next to Robin. On the same jellyfish that Brooke and Frankie are sitting on. So it's a very nice, detailed little color spread. It's nice to see these full-on, everyone, all the Straw Hats, and in some cases all the Straw Hats plus major players from whatever arc they're in. So this is very cool. Adapted cover request by M. Hugh. The Straw Hats on a deep sea stroll using glowing jellyfish as parasols. So yeah, this is definitely an adaptation. This is not exactly what the reader requested, but it seems Oda used it as inspiration for a color spread with glowing jellyfish, and the Straw Hats are riding them and eating French fries. That's very neat. Okay, we've got our first page, and it's showing the dome being attacked. So this is where, not Borkiri, Jupiter was the sandworm. Shepherd is the sandworm. Jupiter is the bird. So yes, this is Jupiter, Saint Jupiter, attacking the Frontier Dome. So the explosion, a looming threat. And we've got Jupiter, shot of his full bird form, close up of his eye. And now, did he penetrate? Looks like he might have penetrated the dome, or he's still on the outside. Not sure, but we've got a perspective of him looking into the dome. Jinbei looks up and sees him. Jinbei says, "What in the world? This hockey is unreal. The fight's over, Zoro. Let's move." Huff, huff. Jinbei. No. He's still standing. We've got Lucci. He's still standing. He's all cut up, though. Slashes across his chest all around. He's bleeding. Standing. He's panting, breathing heavily. Grrr. We've got a call from Sanji. "Jinbei, have you got him yet? I'm on it." "Come on, Zoro, you've already won." Jinbei grabs Zoro. "Fishman karate. Sorry about this, Rob Lucci. 5,000 brick. Fists." And he uses the 5,000 brick fist to attack. Do you attack Lucci or attack the ground to create a smoke screen? You might have attacked the ground to create a smoke screen, or just an attack towards Lucci to stop him. Lucci is blocking, and the area around him is destroyed. Lucci's panting. Huff, huff. And he turns to his regular human form, going out of his hybrid form. Okay. And he's looking up towards the sky, and we hear flapping, and there's Jupiter floating above Lucci. And he says, "Rob Lucci of Cyberpol Aegis Zero, where is York?" And we've got a close-up of Lucci, and he's looking very, very shocked. So, makes sense that he's never seen the elders in their true forms, or not true forms, but animal forms. Then, next panel we have Jinbei escaping with Zoro. "Have to hurry." Zoro says, "What is that thing?" Then we go back to Lucci responding to Jupiter. She's still tied up in the control room. It's on the 4th floor of Building A. The two that just ran off are Ronor Zoro and Jinbei, the Knight of the Sea. There are 5 more Straw Hats up there, and 2 Vegapunks. Huff. They're preparing to escape from the back entrance of the Labostratum. Also, there are 85 Cyberpol agents and 4 Seraphim imprisoned in the basement. And we have 6 minutes before Vegapunk's message. "Splendid work. I have no further queries." So let me scroll back up. So Rob Lucci is giving a status report to Jupiter, and Jupiter is happy with the results of the status report. So it doesn't look like Rob Lucci is in any trouble for not killing the Straw Hats immediately. So Jupiter is about to fly away, and he says one last thing. My partner should be in the control room. He was badly injured. And we have Lucci thinking about Kaku. Please find a way to spare him. Then Jupiter says that might not be possible. It is hard to single out a lone insect when you're exterminating the hive. So, and that does make sense. Lucci and Kaku have a friendship. There's actually a bit of a friendship between all of the Cyberpol agents, so it's not really surprising that Lucci would want to save Kaku's life if possible. And interestingly enough, Jupiter doesn't seem to be against the idea. He just says that it's not likely he'd be able to do so because he has to sort of lambaste the entire place. And taking care to try and save one life might let more lives escape. But it is interesting that there seems to be some respect there between Jupiter and Lucci. I'm wondering if that is a respect, if that bit of respect there is because of Lucci's unwavering loyalty. So they try to reward his loyalty as much as possible. Also, Lucci, while he did seem to be surprised to see the bird form, he seemed to also know that it must be one of the elders. So, do government agents, the ones at the highest levels that serve directly under the Celestial Dragons, and in this case, Lucci and Cyberpol Agent Zero probably serve directly under the Gorosei specifically. Perhaps they have some information, not a lot, but more information than the average government agent would about the Gorosei, knowing that they have these animal and hybrid forms, that they are basically mythical devil fruit eaters. Maybe they haven't seen the transformations, but they knew of the transformations, which would explain Zoro being surprised, but not surprised seeing the creature, but still knowing exactly who that creature is, and giving the status report. Okay. Tried to save Kaku. And next page. Luffy, giant old timers, it's really you. It's been over 2 years. Straw Hat, we hardly recognized you. Ba 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 ba. They tell tales about this god in Elbaf. Where did you learn how he looked? Your appearance. It's a pleasant surprise. Ba 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 ba. I don't get it, but we can talk later. Okay, so that's a huge confirmation. They tell tales about this god in Elbaf. Where did you learn about how he looked? Says Brody. So they tell tales about Sun God Nika in Elbaf. Elbaf is named after their warrior god, Elbaf. So they do tell tales about other gods in Elbaf. They also knew what Nika looked like, which I think is the first time we've had a. This is the first time we've had Nika worshippers or Nika believers mention that they know specifically what he looked like. Yeah, because the Buccaneers they knew about the rubbery properties of his body. Yeah. And the slaves, let's see. The slaves and prisoners held by the world government, they just believed that a sun god exists and the sun god they knew the name of the god and that the god would free the slaves or possibly liberate the slaves. But this kind of ties into that speculation because at specific points in the story, other gods were mentioned during One Piece. Of course, probably the most known is the Elbaf, the warrior god that is worshipped on Elbaf, and Elbaf is named after. If in Elbaf they tell stories about other gods, does that mean that Elbaf was a person that lived around the same time as Nika did? And that is why on Elbaf they tell stories about Nika and Elbaf. And then, taking that information, we go back to Skypiea, where they mentioned several gods. I believe there was a sun god, I think a forest god, perhaps? Was it forest, wind, and rain? I'm not entirely sure, but I know they mentioned another set of gods, and there was speculation that perhaps Nika, there were other gods, like Nika, for these other elements that were mentioned on Skypiea. If that is true, and this is all connected, then that means there is something of the Parthenon of gods. So far, only Nika has been confirmed to exist here in the modern time. But we now know for sure 100% Nika's legend connects to Elbaf. They tell stories about Nika and Elbaf. It connects somewhat to Skypiea. There hasn't been a full-on confirmation yet that the sun god Nika is mentioned by the Skypieans, and the Skypieans know of who he is and believe in him. It's all but been 100% confirmed. But each of those islands, those worlds, have mentioned other gods alongside Nika. In Elbaf, they mention the god Elbaf along with Nika. At Skypiea, they mention these forest, I think it's forest, rain, and wind gods alongside Nika. So the only questions now remaining are A, are these other gods real? Were they real at the time of Joy Boy? Other people with special devil fruits like Nika? That's the first question. Second question, did they interact with Nika? And in what way did they interact with Nika? Were they all allies? Were they enemies? Were they rivals? Did they all travel together, or did they live in separate places and just interact and clash sometimes? Hmm. Then this brings up another thought. What if they were what if they were a group? What if they were like a pirate crew? Which is a really interesting thing to consider, because how far back does piracy go in the One Piece world? Were there pirates during the Void Century? Or did pirates only start to exist after the Void Century? Let's see, thinking back to the formation of the world government. I'm not off the top of my head recalling any time where they mentioned pirates existing during the Void Century, or the time before the Void Century, when the world government was formed. So, okay, that's a big tangent on speculation, but let's go back. Starting back at the first panel, Luffy, oh, giant old timers, it's really you. It's been over 2 years. Straw Hat, we hardly recognized you. Ga ba ba ba, if they tell tales about this god in Elbaf, where did you learn how he looked? Your appearance. It's a pleasant surprise. Ga ba ba ba. She, I don't get it. We can talk later. I don't get it, but we can talk later. Then we've got Warcury responding, giants. Then Saturn, a most impalpable complication. Then we've got Dorian Brokey, what enormous beast. It feels like we're back in the jungles of Elbaf. Old timers, we're not meant to fight right now. We're supposed to run away. We know, Sanji told us when we bumped into him earlier. When you see Luffy, tell him, we're meeting on the other end of the island. Dory, Brokey, I'm counting on you. Got it, see you there. We decided to help you escape after we saw the news. So, we get a flashback shot of Sanji carrying Vegapunk, and he tells Dory and Brokey to find Luffy, and they're meeting on the other end of the island. Then, on the next panel, we get a zoomed out shot of the Egghead Island, showing the path that Luffy, Dory, and Brokey are supposed to take to reach the Elbaf ship. Then we've got the positions of the other groups. We've got Sanji and Vegapunk a little bit ahead on the same path. And then we've got Bonnie's group even further ahead on the same path towards the ship. We've got Nami and Usopp's group still up in the Labostratum. So it looks like Luffy and Nami's groups probably have the farthest to travel to reach the ship to Elbaf. And also, Luffy's group has... Now I'm speculating, but Luffy's group has 2 elders there, 2 Gorosei. I mean, Usopp's group has 1. And there's one that was going around the coast of the island taking out the pacifistas. So the Nostro might be the one that Bonnie's group has to deal with getting past. But that's a nice little addition to show where everyone is at and where their goal is. Okay, next panel. The report said the Navy was surrounding you after all. The report said the Navy was surrounding you after all. Oh. And then we've got Dory blowing on a horn. Is he blowing on a horn or drinking something? Oh. I guess he's drinking something. A drink, it looks like a horn. Maybe it is a horn. From the shape, it looks like a horn. But it doesn't. Yeah, it is a horn. Okay. He blows the horn. Ooh. Huh? The signal from the captains. They found Straw Hat. Head to the ship. We're getting out of here. They've got Warcree. They're signaling a retreat. That won't do. Allow me to blow a horn of my own. It'll drive home the futility of escape. Roar! And Warcree lets out a massive roar. Got the... Is that Conqueror's Haki lightning? Could it be that the Elders have Conqueror's Haki, or is this just regular Haki? Let's see. So we've got the massive roar. Oh, I missed a panel. Or a series of panels. So let me go back. Dory blows the horn. Head to the ship. We're getting out of here. Or the signal from the captains. They found Straw Hat. Head to the ship. We're getting out of here. Rescuing them was our only goal. It's not like warships have treasure to loot anyway. You're not wrong. Yeah. Then we've got the Navy officers saying, damn it, noticing the attack from the Giants, and the Giants are now trying to retreat. Then Warcree, they're signaling retreat. That won't do. Allow me to blow a horn of my own. It'll drive home the futility of escape. And Luffy, Dory, and Brogy are all like, If they notice that Warcree is preparing to do something, then he lets out that massive roar. There's lightning. It looks like it might be Conqueror's Haki. Dory, Brogy, and Luffy all shield themselves. The roar echoing throughout the island. Ooh, huh? We've got Luffy making a shocked expression. His sandals and his hat are all blown off. His eyeballs and his scar blown from his face too. Huh? And Brogy is looking on, surprised. Yeah, we see something. The sound reverberating throughout the entire island. Navy officers. The island's going crazy again. Hey! And some of the naval officers are passing out, so yep, that's Conqueror's Haki. Now back to Dory and Brogy. You good, Straw Hat? You held on? Your body's so funky. Yeah, ha 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 ha. That was close. A Conqueror's Haki roar. Who is this guy? Some government big shot. So, okay, yeah, that was a massive Conqueror's Haki roar. Luffy held on, but the roar was powerful, so it blew all of his, it blew a lot of his defining features off. Blew his eyes off, blew his scar off, blew his hat off, his sandals. And the roar reverberates throughout the island, knocking out some of the marine officers, and obviously it'll probably knock out... will it knock out any giants? I kind of feel like it shouldn't knock out any giants, but maybe it will. Then we see Dorian Broggie asking Straw Hat if he's okay, talking about his body being funky. And then Luffy is putting all of his features back on his body. Putting his chest scar back on and putting his scar, he's holding his scar in his hand. The scar from under his eye, and he's about to put that back on. A Conqueror's Haki Roar. Who is this guy? Some government big shot. And then Walkyrie jumps into the air. Ooh, Broggie, right. Dorian and Broggie raise their shields. Sun Shield. Svalin. Sun Shield Svalin. And they block, each of them blocking one of Walkyrie's tusks and his, whoa. Yeah, Walkyrie's tusks have turned into huge, two massive blades. So his tusks transform into blades. Okay. Then we have Walkyrie speaking as Dorian and Broggie are still blocking. What quirk of destiny ties you together? Do you have any idea who that man is? Of course we do. Gah-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. He's our buddy. Yeah. And both of them swing and fully repel Walkyrie, tossing him back. He flips over. Split Skyla. Split Skyla. Crash. Walkyrie goes crashing onto his back. If that's where you stand, then we'll have to erase you, says Saturn. Now he's breathing in from world's history along with him. And Saturn starts spitting out venom. Luffy says, "That's venom, watch out." Huh? Luffy reaches out and expands his hand to a giant form, grabs a tree, starts gnawing at the trunk of the tree. He shapes it into a baseball bat, paints it with 56 on it. She. He puts on a baseball helmet with the number 56 on it. Clack. Whoop. And he swings the bat, knocking back the poison balls that Saturn spat at them. Have a taste of your own medicine. It goes flying back. It hits Walkyrie and Saturn, explodes. Huh? They explode? The big explosion. And Luffy does that shocked expression again where his eyes pop out of his head. Captains, the flames will block off the forts. Alright, let's go. They're gone through. Blah, 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 blah. No, we have to hurry. These guys can't die, says Luffy. And we've got a shot of all three. We've got Saturn, Mercury, and Jupiter rising up out of the flames. Then let's move on. Are they really immortal? No idea, but no matter what I do, they keep coming back. I've never heard of any race or ability granting that kind of power. We may be running, but I still count this as a victory. Ga-ba-ba-ba. We've got Nami speaking through the communications device. Jinbei, Zoro, Sanji, Jinbei, Zoro, hurry. We're on our way. It's faster to just run normally. Now Jinbei is running on the ground instead of using the hover boots to float because it's faster. Now we're back to Bonnie and Frankie. In front of that ship, look. You're not going anywhere, Jewelry Bonnie. So we've got the vice captains there. The otter guy. The guy with the multiple chins. And that guy with the long beard with a white stripe through it. Huff, huff. Chapter end. One Piece will be on a 3-week break. So we've got, so they put the chapter end here before the final page for some reason, but next page. Saturn, Mercury, Venus, Juro, Mercury, Saturn, Mercury, Jupiter. Sorry, Jupiter. Mercury, Saturn, Venus, Jupiter. So, the bird, who I believe I've been getting the name wrong all chapter because Jupiter is shepherd. Shepherd, Jupiter is the sandworm. Topman, Warcury is the warthog, and I've been right about that. I'm forgetting who is the bearded guy that looked like Ganfall. He's the one that turns into the bird. And he's not Warcury. He's not. And Venustra is the centaur, the zombie centaur, and the swordsman. Mars, Mercury, Mars, Marcus Mars. That's who the bird is. You have to keep that in mind. Mars. So we've got Mars. He's in the Labostratum, in the room where York is now. Where's the room displayed on the monitor? York is screaming, "Yeah, monster, it spoke. Who are you? Leave me be." Then we're back to the ship the marine ship that Kizaru landed on. Kizaru-san, are you hurt? Let us treat you. And Kizaru covering his eyes. My wounds run deep. Just let me rest already. We should attend to them right away. Come in. Something way bigger than a giant just showed up. Creak. Thud. Thud. On the northwest shore. The flames aren't even phasing it. It's like a titan in the middle of an inferno. And it seems to be growling something. Joy Boy, forgive me. An apology for what? And that is the end of the chapter. As it said, there will be a 3-week break after this, so we won't get any new chapters until next month. We're heading into a massive break, but we've had a lot happen, and we're definitely getting towards the climax. Now all the Straw Hats are focused on heading towards the ship, the Elbaf ship, so they can get off the island. a massive robot which is bigger than a giant. So now we have the question, is this robot like continent puller size, like oars, or is it even bigger than that? Right now, from the looks of things, it kind of seems like it's in that area, around that size of a continent puller oars kind of giant. Because the continent pullers are way bigger than even regular giants. But it's finally on the move. It's apologizing to Joy Boy and activated. The first thing I'm noticing looking at its eyes, it reminds me a lot of Zunisha. So, is there a connection there? A robot. Or is it a robot? When this thing was first revealed, it was deactivated. But it had activated once before, and when it did, it crashed into the red line, which is how it ended up where it currently is, I believe. Vegapunk found it. Vegapunk has been studying it. He said it was technology, so it has to be a robot. Or maybe... See, it's hard to say. Because you could say it's a cyborg, but if it's a cyborg, it has to have organic components. And it's been deactivated for 800, well, hundreds of years. It was deactivated 800 years ago. Then sometime, I think, was it 200 or 400 years ago, it activated and crashed into the red line. But it's been deactivated a really long time, hundreds of years. Any organic components would have degraded away over those hundreds of years. So can we say it's a robot, or can we say it's a cyborg if the organic components have all biodegraded and rotted away? Or is the technology so advanced that they can preserve some biological component even hundreds of years after deactivation? For this thing to be a cyborg and not a robot? Or, again, could the technology of the Ancient Kingdom have been so advanced that they created a sort of android technology with completely artificial intelligence that is so advanced it's like basically human intelligence? But Zunisha is definitely not a robot. Zunisha is 100% organic. It's just, for some reason, a really, really long-lived elephant, and a big island-sized, long-lived elephant. And I guess that sort of answers the question. If Zunisha can survive, but then again, if Zunisha can survive for 800 years plus, then if this robot Titan is a cyborg, then whatever organic components in it could be just like Zunisha and live hundreds and hundreds of years. So maybe it is a cyborg of some sort. Either way, it's activated. It's apologizing to Joy Boy. So it knows Joy Boy. Just like Zunisha, it's activated because of the presence of Joy Boy on the island. Zunisha... Did Zunisha apologize to Joy Boy as well? I'm not sure. Zunisha was punished for a crime and sentenced to wander the world. who punished Zunisha and why are questions. Zunisha knew Joy Boy. I don't think Zunisha apologized to Zord Joy Boy when Zunisha first saw Joy Boy awaken on Wano. So that brings up a question. Could Zunisha's punishment have been self-imposed if Zunisha and the Titan have the same regrets about Joy Boy? Perhaps Zunisha punished itself by wandering the world for 800 years. Is that the case? Or it could be the Ancient Kingdom, people in the Ancient Kingdom ordered the punishment to Zunisha because of the events, whatever happened with Joy Boy. Because what could the Titan have to regret? It's either something they did or something they didn't do. It could just be sorrow. It could be apologizing because they're sorry because something happened, but no, using the term Joy Boy forgive me says that there's definitely something that they were actively involved in, an action they took or didn't take that impacted Joy Boy negatively somehow, and they're regretful. Zunisha. Then there's the question of the eyes. The eyes look like Zunisha's eyes. So that's just a huge mystery that maybe we're not gonna see. Not gonna see solved during this arc, but as we were all expecting, the giant, since it's activated, is taking action here, and it will provide an opportunity for the Straw Hats to escape. So we've confirmed that the Elders all have Conqueror's Haki. Yeah, I'm going to say that they all have Conqueror's Haki. Because we've seen Walkyrie use a Conqueror's Haki roar. When Saturn was first summoned, his power, it seemed a lot like Conqueror's Haki, even though there were other elements we couldn't really understand. Like there's this paralysis, this I-beam thing. But we could put that under the umbrella of Conqueror's Haki if it's some sort of super focused Conqueror's Haki, because we have had situations where a really advanced Conqueror's Haki user like Shanks has been able to super focus the Conqueror's Haki and use it. It also explains the telepathic communication between the Elders, because if they all have Conqueror's Haki, then they can use that Conqueror's Haki the way Shanks did against Green Bull for that long distance communication. So if we count Saturn's telepathy that Saturn used To contact the other elders as Conqueror's Haki, we confirm that Saturn has displayed Conqueror's Haki. Now Warkery has displayed Conqueror's Haki. That's 2 out of the 5. Their power sets are all varied but similar and maybe linked. So it's really, really safe to assume that all the elders have Conqueror's Haki. And since the elders have been around for so long, apparently, perhaps the name Conqueror's Haki actually comes from them. Maybe they were among the first to display Conqueror's Haki to be known in the world, and that's where the name Conqueror's Haki came from. And why it is associated with kings and rulers and people that are destined to quote-unquote stand above others. That would be a really interesting origin for the knowledge of Conqueror's Haki, I think. But we have confirmation. The elders use Conqueror's Haki. Got Mars. Let's go all the way back. Mars, he did penetrate the shield around the Labostratum. So he got in. Jinbei saw him get in and took on Zoro, or took Zoro to escape. Lucci, not defeated in one shot by Zoro. So people were celebrating a bit too prematurely, saying that Zoro one-shotted Lucci, which is kind of what I expected. He did do damage to Lucci. Decent damage. He was hurt and staggering, so yeah, pretty decent damage, just not a one-shot. And Lucci seemed willing to continue fighting. And Zoro seemed willing to continue fighting as well, so if Jinbei hadn't interfered, that battle would have continued on. And it does kind of make sense because Zoro wasn't even going all out on Lucci, and it kind of feels like at this stage Lucci is an awakened Devil Fruit user who was a final boss character in an arc, so he's strong. Would I put him at Yonko Commander level? Feels like he shouldn't be, but he's an awakened Devil Fruit user. He's probably one of the most powerful, like, non-elder world government members. So I would say, yeah, he might be close to that level. He might actually be at first Yonko Commander level. And Zoro did he go all out is the question. It seemed like he went all out. He used a brand new attack. But he didn't put on he didn't put on his bandana, so there's a question there. Either way, it's not a one shot. Lucci's up. He's conscious. He gave the report to Mars. So if there's no chance that Mars can save Kaku, perhaps Lucci will take it on himself to try and save Kaku. He might try to head into the Labostratum to grab Kaku and escape with him before Mars can fully destroy the Labostratum. Okay. We've got Dorian Broggie. we talked about that. They confirmed that Elbaf knows about the sun god Nika, and they tell tales about him. They knew what he looked like. So that lends further credence to the idea that there were multiple gods at one time. Because it doesn't make sense that they tell all these stories about these gods alongside Nika, and Nika is the only one to actually exist. That just doesn't make sense. So while it's not a hard confirmation, it's a little bit more evidence, lending credibility to the idea that there were multiple gods at one point. They're trying to escape the island. We got the speculation of immortality for the Gorosei. Could they be immortal? If they were immortal, that would mean it would take something extraordinary to defeat them. If they're not immortal, then that means their regenerative capabilities have to have a limit. There has to be a level of damage, either all at once in a huge burst or sustained over time, that it eventually reaches a point where they can't regenerate anymore and recover, and they start to take damage. So possibility of immortality. The Conqueror's Haki. Roar. Once again, we've got strength feats that show Dorian Brogy are really strong. I think with that, with Dorian Brogy being able to repel the attack from Warcry, it's kind of safe to assume they're not in danger, that Dorian Brogy are going to be fine. There's no worry about them being killed here. Warcry's tusk transformed into blades while he was in his full-on animal form. What does this mean? Let's think. Saturn. I don't think any parts of his body transformed into anything else. Spider form, hybrid spider form, and then full spider form. His legs kind of whip around, but that's just part of, Yeah, it's just part of his mythical zone power, I'm thinking. Nothing extraordinary. So the question becomes, can the other Gorosei transform further? Like turning parts of their bodies into weapons, the way that Warcry turned his tusk into blades. That becomes a question. Interesting. Because it brings up the idea that there's a lot to the power of specifically the Gorosei's devil fruits that hasn't been revealed. We now know that they probably all have the three forms at least. They have their human forms, their hybrid forms, and then their full-on animal forms. They have secondary abilities. They have to have secondary abilities. I'm thinking, it's hard to say with Saturn because poison and venom are naturally part of a spider, tarantula's abilities. So, and he hasn't shown anything super especially different about his poison. Like, maybe it's more potent than Magellan's, but that's not that big of a thing because Magellan's poison was already so deadly and fatal. So you can't be more deadly and more fatal. You could be, in terms of speed, maybe it's faster to kill, but they all still kill. So that doesn't seem super impressive. Let's see, what have we seen from Saturn? The paralysis, maybe that's related to that sort of idea that spiders and snakes can paralyze. Maybe that's the tertiary power of his mythical zone. So with Venustero, it's obviously ice. You got ice for his secondary power. With Mars, it's kind of looking like fire, maybe? Fire? He's a firebird, like a phoenix, which makes his power sort of comparable to Marco's in the way that Venus's is comparable to Brooks. Fire or explosion. But I'm thinking fire from the looks of it. Seems like a bird that breathes fire. So, thinking fire, tertiary power there. Sandworm, haven't seen a whole lot of it. Jupiter in action, so far he's displayed powers that are common to worms, burrowing. Did he transform? No. Valkyrie, like Jupiter, we haven't seen a whole lot. But in this chapter, we see the transformation of Tusk. Could that be a part of his power set? Transformation? In that case, would his tertiary power be similar to Baby Five's, where he transforms parts of his body into weapons? That could be a possibility. If that is unique to Valkyrie. If it's not unique to Valkyrie, then that implies a brand new power set that all of the elders have. The ability to turn their bodies into weapons. But kind of seems that would be redundant with Nostero because he's already a swordsman and carries a sword all the time. So I'm kind of leaning towards that power is unique to Valkyrie, and it's something in the vein of Baby Five's ability. Then we have to think Baby Five's ability is Paramecia, and Valkyrie's is a zone. But we know that mythical devil fruits can cross that line. Their secondary powers can be zone style powers or Paramecia style powers. But that doesn't make them more advanced versions of those fruits. So I would say that Warcry's fruit is the advanced version of Baby Five's fruit, right? Because the advanced version of Baby Five's fruit would have to be... No. It has to be the case, right? Because then we have to look at Katarina Devon and her fruit being the more advanced version of Bon Clay's clone fruit. And her fruit is also a mythical zone, I believe. Yeah, it's a mythical zone. So mythical zones can be the advanced version of regular Paramecia or regular zone fruits. Right? I think so. In which case, it is possible that Warcry's fruit is the more advanced version of Baby Five's fruit. But yeah, we have secondary powers. Bluechy said 6 minutes on the message, so that puts our timer there at 6 minutes in this chapter, or just under 6 minutes left until Vegapunk's message plays. Mars has already reached the Labostratum, so it's just a matter of finding the room where the message is being played from. York is panicking, so he'll have to get York to calm down enough to tell him where the message room is so he can go destroy it. Nami's group should still be up there. Because did they show Nami and Usopp's group escaping from the Labostratum? No, they showed Brooke and Lilith arriving with the Sunny. They didn't show them all joining together and getting off the Labostratum yet. So if they are up there, there's a possibility that they run into Mars. Or if they get off the island, if they've already gotten off that Labostratum, then Mars has to choose between trying to chase them down and stopping the message. His priority should obviously be stopping the message, so it seems coming into the Labostratum, his focus was on stopping the message. He went directly to York, asked York about what room the message is being played from. So that strongly indicates what his goal is. And as we were expecting, Elbaf does seem like we're going to get a little bit more information about Joy Boy and Nika and what that means. So there's a lot of room for speculation here. It would be interesting to go back and reread the parts of Skypiea where they mention the gods. So I know exactly which gods they mentioned alongside the sun. So that we can put together a list of all the gods that have been referred to in the story so far. And then we can see how many of those gods have been referred to alongside Nika. I'm thinking so far that most of them have been referred to alongside Nika so far. We've got the three, I think it was three other gods on Skypiea. Now we have Elbaf. And I think those are the major gods that have been mentioned so far. But a really good chapter, a nice big cliffhanger. We've got lots of setting up for lore about Nika being revealed eventually. Really good. The Straw Hats are now all in motion towards the ship to Elbaf, including Luffy at this point. The elders, the Gorosei, are still trying to slow them down. Let's see. Yeah, the Gorosei are still trying to slow them down and stop the message. The Titan is in motion. That's going to be a huge boon for the Straw Hats. Because I think that the Gorosei are probably going to have to turn their attention from stopping the Straw Hats to stopping the Titan. If the Titan takes aim at the Gorosei, then the question becomes, does the Titan have a power that can harm the Gorosei for real? If it does, then the Titan becomes a primary threat, a top target, because it can actually harm the Gorosei. And even if it can't actually harm them, just by its presence and its power, it's a threat. And a threat even bigger than the giants, and perhaps the Gorosei would want to stop the Titan from meeting with Luffy, because it would have information and give information to Luffy that the world government wants kept secret. Like, no matter how you slice it, it seems like the Gorosei are going to want to switch their focus once they know that the Titan is awake and moving, to stopping that Titan. And that will provide more cover for the Straw Hats to escape the island. It also means the theory about Dragon coming to help. We can probably put that one to rest. Yeah. Yeah. Unless the Gorosei display some... If they display some superpower, that overcomes and destroys the Titan. And then they turn their focus back to Straw Hats, then maybe there's a possibility that we will need Dragon to show up. Even though I'm not sure the Dragon and the Revolutionaries could add much to the situation. So yeah, it seems like the thought of Dragon coming to the island, we can put that one to bed. Dragon continues to face east and do pretty much nothing in the story. So with that, we have sort of set up and a sort of more clear vision to towards how the arc could possibly wrap up. And we have a 3-week-long break, so that's plenty of time for people to speculate and go back and think about possible connections, especially between the gods existing in One Piece. We have a bit of confirmation of the power set, a little bit more confirmation of the power sets of the Gorosei, confirming Conqueror's Haki, showing off transformations. Conqueror's Haki transformations were the two majors that were shown here. Further transformations, I should say. Further transformations. And Conqueror's Haki, Luffy in his god form, being Luffy in his god form, very cartoony still. Very good stuff. Making a baseball bat. I like that he still uses the number 56. I'm glad that's not going away. Gorosei, oh yeah, that's the other thing. The transformation, the secondary transformation, the Conqueror's Haki, and the possibility of immortality. Like, we were speculating that they are just super regenerative, but now Luffy has thrown out the idea that they can't die. So immortality is on the table. Also confirming that Dorinbogi, they've never heard of any race or ability granting that kind of power. So they've never heard of any race or ability granting that kind of power. Does this confirm? Does this confirm that in fact the eternal life surgery from Law's Devil Fruit has never been used in all of its existence? Because this means that either A, there's a gap in Dorinbogi's knowledge, which is entirely possible considering how much the world government hides, and the fact that Dorinbogi are, I mean, they're not interested in the world history the way someone like a Nico Robin or a Blackbeard would be. So they aren't seeking out that kind, and they're not really interested in devil fruit, so they're not seeking out that kind of information. So it's easy there could be a gap in their knowledge. The other possibility is that the immortality surgery from Lost Fruit has never been used. So we've never had an immortal created by that fruit, which would be a big confirmation. But it would also mean that the immortality surgery is still hanging over the head as something that has to be used in the current story, since it's never been used in the past. Because it has to be revealed somehow. Either it has to be used now during a current story, or we have to see that it was used by someone in the past, so that we get the completion of knowing how the immortality surgery works. We've had it explained, we haven't seen it in action, either in the past or in the present story. So if it is true that it has never been used in the past, and it has to be used now in the present story, then the third option is that perhaps the surgery never actually granted immortality. Let's see. Yeah, it could be a possibility that the surgery has never granted immortality, that it never did grant immortality, and that was a bit of misinformation that spread throughout the world, that this surgery grants immortality. So this line kind of has some implications about lost fruit and the immortality surgery, but it's still kind of vague and nebulous at this state. But now there is a question about it, because before it was kind of unquestioned that lost fruit does this surgery that grants immortality to the patient at the cost of the life of the person that has the ope-ope-no-mi and uses the surgery. So I'm thinking what's most likely is probably just a gap in Dorian Brogie's knowledge here. And lost fruit can do immortality. It can grant immortality to the user. And it probably has been used in the past and has yet to been revealed how it's been used in the past. And that might be revealed later on in the story. There are people that speculated maybe it was used on the elders. Which would be quite... It would be quite the feat, because it would have to have been used on the elders each. It would have to have been used on the elders individually, because the surgery can only be performed once, so one fruit user has to perform the surgery on one elder, then die, and they have to find the fruit again, give it to another person, then have that person do a surgery on the next elder, and then repeat that process 5 times. Or 6 times if you want to include Eam in that. And that seems like a lot. Especially considering there's still question marks about the devil fruit. We know that when a devil fruit user dies, the nearest fruit will reincarnate into that devil fruit. But the question is, can it be controlled to that level? Like, if you bring a regular fruit next to a devil fruit user, right next to them, and you kill that person, does the devil fruit reincarnate right into that very fruit that's directly next to the devil fruit user that died? Or is there some element of randomness to it, leading to having to track down the fruit? Because, you would have to assume you have to assume that there has to be some element of randomness to it. Because it kind of makes... Yeah, especially since when you consider that devil fruits, or some devil fruits, are said to have wills and escape from being tracked down by people or forces they don't want to find them. Yeah. Okay. So, I think that's going to wrap things up for now. Thanks so much for watching. Please like and comment and subscribe. And I will see you all in the next video. Until then, take care.